All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Post Game Podcast, a podcast where I'm talking to former athletes, sharing their stories about life after the game, what they're up to in business, entrepreneurship, and much more. My guest today is a former NHL hockey player with the Florida Panthers, Calgary Flames, Vancouver Canucks, and the Carolina Hurricanes. Since retiring, he has become an NHL agent, podcast host of a podcast called Betting the Limit, and founder of Amalfi, an executive leadership community for athletes and CEOs. He is also a husband and a father. His name is Drew Shore. So great having Drew on the podcast, just hearing about his NHL career and what he's been up to since. A little bit of what we discuss in the episode are some of the things that he faced after leaving the game of hockey, some advice he gives to current and retired athletes, how to take advantage of your platform as an athlete while you still are one, and then how he's helping athletes close the gap after they retire, really so they don't experience some of the same things that he did. So I appreciate you tuning in. Really enjoyed this one with Drew, and I hope you do as well. Please enjoy the conversation with Drew Shore. Drew Shore, live here, man. Appreciate you joining me. Fellow podcast host himself and former NHL hockey player, doing some awesome stuff in the agent world and with Amalfi. So yeah, man, thanks for hopping on.
No problem. Excited to do this and look forward to ripping it.
Yes, sir. All right, cool, man. Is that the Amalfi logo you got on there? Is that the tee?
That is the polo. We've come out with a couple different clothing items, and from golf shirts to hoodies to a little bit of everything else. And this is one of the newer golf shirts.
Love it, man. I just started. I just asked a buddy to help me spin up some gears. We're working on ourselves here, but we'll get there.
You'll have to send me some of it when you're done.
I will. It'll be a thank you gift for coming on. So
cool.
Well, cool. So yeah, Drew, I'm just looking forward to, like, because a lot of what you do, I never played professionally or anything like that, but as a former college athlete, that's really what the point of this podcast was. Like, what are you going to do when the lights turn off, pretty much, and you stop playing, and just figuring out what's next. And that's a huge part of what you've been doing since your NHL. Since your NHL career wrapped up. So would love just to hear a little bit about that NHL career though, man. Like, you come from a hockey family yourself out in Denver and had a great career at Denver. And then did you leave early to go to the NHL? Is that what I read?
Yeah, I left after 3 years. I could have actually stayed one more year and played with not only my brother Nick, but also my brother Quentin, which made the decision to leave really tough because it would have been awesome to play with both of my brothers, and especially right in our backyard. We had so many family and friends at all the games, but decided it was time.
That's awesome. So you guys had to just beat up on each other growing up, huh? Is it 3 boys? Is that what it is?
4 boys, actually. My youngest brother was smarter than all of us and ended up being the captain of Harvard's hockey team and is now working in private equity in New York. He was thinking about going to DU, but I think all 3 of us kind of were like, no, if you can get into Harvard by playing hockey, that's what you should do. So that's what he should do. He's crushing it in New York, and I'm hoping that he can hire me soon because he owes me for a lot of summers.
There you go. Smart man. Well, cool, man. What was that journey like playing hockey, like in the NHL? Just watching a little bit of your first. What was that first goal like? What was that? What was that one like? Did it kind of bounce around a little bit and then squeak in there?
Yeah, and it actually went to about a 3 or 4 minute review process, which normally doesn't take that long in hockey. So it was a weird feeling because you're kind of just sitting there. But yeah, that was awesome. I mean, dream come true to score a goal in the NHL my whole life, and for that finally to come true was awesome.
What's it feel like scoring a goal in the NHL? Like, I feel like you hit a home run in the big leagues, you catch a touchdown past the NFL. Like, do you remember some of those feelings of like, man, I just put one in there and I'm going down the line, dapping guys up?
Yeah, one of the best feelings in the world. Like, that's something that I think I miss so much, is just like the euphoric high that you'd get for several seconds after scoring a big goal. There's not many things in life that compare to it.
You kind of just black out for a few seconds as that horn's going off, or what? What's that like?
Yeah, it's like it's one of the few times where you don't really think about anything else going on in the world, and then you come back to the bench, and then maybe you start thinking about other things, but you have kind of a 15 or 30-second window there where you're not thinking about much else, and it's just a pretty good feeling.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I grew up, so being in Philly, I grew up, my old man would take me down to the, I guess it was the Wachovia Center. I don't know if you ever played the Flyers in Philly, but Wachovia Center was like Mark Recchi Leclerc, who else? Keith Primo. I remember back in the day,
Yeah.
and those playoff atmospheres were electric. They got to get
Yeah.
back. They've been struggling the last few years, but
I know. I mean, Philly's obviously one of the best sports cities in America. So it was awesome for the game of hockey when the Flyers are good. And they were really good when I started my career in 2012. And it was always a really tough building to go in and play just because they had such passionate fans and they were really good.
Definitely, man. So a big part of your story is that you say like your NHL career maybe didn't go as planned. You know, you talk about wanting to play or thinking maybe you'd play till 40, like you'd be one of these NHL vets, but things didn't always necessarily go as planned. You made it to the NHL, which is an incredible feat. But why do you say some of those things? So, like, why do you think maybe it didn't pan out necessarily? Like, what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah. So when I retired, and I mean, every athlete goes through this regardless of whether they played 20 years in the NBA and made 300 million or played in college and had to stop playing their sport. It puts you in a very weird pivotal moment of your life. And for me, it was weird because like you said, like I vividly remember being a 6-7-year-old kid watching the Denver Pioneers play and thinking if I could play one game in college hockey or get a scholarship, like that would be the coolest thing in the world. But then after my career is over, when I look back on my career, I view it as more of a failure, which is a weird place to be in as well. So it kind of leads you with this thing, and you try and remember the young kid, like the 6-year-old kid who would have done anything just to score a goal in college hockey. And then obviously I was able to accomplish a lot more than that, but definitely didn't have the career that I thought I would have or wanted to have. So, I mean, it leaves you in a weird space.
You still consider it a failure these days, even after it's helped you launch some of the things you're up to now?
So I kind of look at it as twofold. I do look at it as a failure, which is probably not what a lot of people would say, but I do think it has provided me with an opportunity and from some of the lessons that I've learned in my career that I think my next career in business will be a lot more successful than my hockey career ever was. And I don't think that would have come had I had the hockey career that I always envisioned.
Sure. Yeah, it makes sense, man. Yeah. That's partly why I actually started this up too, because you go to play Division I baseball, you're the best player on your team, or maybe even the best player in your area, and then you go to, especially at the D1 level, well, whatever level it is, but then everybody's the best player from their team, and the mental side of the game. Yeah, what was your experience like with that? Like, is the mental side of the game a really important part of hockey as well? Admittedly, I don't know as much about it, but I'm just curious. Did that creep in for you at times?
Yeah, big time. And it was something I didn't handle very well. And I think was one of the reasons that my career had some of the downfalls that it did, was just because I didn't handle mentally some things very well. And I think that every athlete, regardless of their sport, needs to realize and understand how important that is. And back to your point, it's like funny. I saw Rich Paul was on an interview the other day saying that like people don't understand how good the players in the G League are at basketball. Like the G League is filled with guys who are collegiate D1 superstars and high school phenoms. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. Like you think like, oh, it's the G League, like it's pretty low end basketball, but every one of those guys was the best player on their team in college, in high school, and the talent level. I'm sure it's the same thing in baseball, is pretty remarkable.
No, it really is, man. Yeah, you don't really think about that. Just how some of these guys are freaks, even at the whatever level, especially basketball. Like some of these guys are crazy. Cool, man. So, what was the experience like retiring from hockey then? Like, did you have any idea what you wanted to do? Just what was that like?
Yeah, so I knew I wanted to stay in hockey. I thought I wanted to be an agent. I had a really good friend who basically I've known for 20 years, who's probably the best agent in hockey and represents some of the game's best players, named Judd Moldaver. And I gave him a call. And it's funny, I gave him a call because I read an article. I knew him 25 years prior when he was literally picking up guys in a white van for summer camp, carrying their equipment. And now he's the best agent in hockey. So there was a really cool article was written about him. And I called him more just to like say congratulations. And I was proud of him for everything he's kind of been able to accomplish because I saw where he started and where he ended up. So started talking that, thought about maybe working on the team side, but I'm super happy that I took the job at Wasserman with him just because being able to kind of ride shotgun with him for 2 or 3 years was such a good learning experience on the business side of things. And I think you can see it with some of the way he's represented clients. It's much different than other guys have. And the industry's kind of been a little bit stale for a long time. And he's really changing that up with some of his players and some of the things they're doing and the contracts that they're signing and the way they're looking at different things. So super grateful for that opportunity.
Huh, that's awesome. What do you mean by that? That it's stale? What are those guys doing differently?
I mean, it's just differently from a sense that, like, a perfect example is almost all really high-end players had signed almost identical contracts coming out of their entry-level deal for 10 or 15 years since the salary cap had really been put into place. And he's kind of the first guy to go with the superstar and say, hey, maybe we should sign a short-term deal or a shorter deal because the cap's going to go way up. And some of the marketing stuff that he's done with different guys, whether it's, I mean, instead of just taking a little bit of cash to do something, he's got guys who are taking equity in different companies and believes in brands and kind of has their full, he's almost the CEO of their entire life, which is much different than a lot of even really good agents had done in the past, especially in hockey.
Interesting. Okay. So he's helping like from all aspects. Do guys, I'm just wondering, do guys get financial advisors too? Like, I'm sure you have different people you trust really, but sometimes it's good just to have one person. Like what's that like in hockey?
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge conflict of interest here, not just in hockey, but in a lot of sports. I mean, some agencies have launched like in-house financial guys, but I think that's a slippery slope to go down. I think the smartest and best agents probably have a Rolodex or 4 or 5 really high-end financial guys who they trust, and they kind of just set up the meetings with the player and then let the player kind of make the decision. And I think that's the best way to go about it. Certainly as the agent, just kind of give the players an option or a platter of guys who are all very good and then let the player decide and go from there. But I think anytime you intermix some of the finances with the representation, it can get a little ugly.
Yeah, muddy the water. Yeah, muddy the waters a little bit. I hear you. I want to ask you about, so when did you start the podcast? When did you start Betting the Limit? Was that, yeah.
So I started it about 2 years ago, but I started it pretty seriously about a year ago, and it's been awesome. That's one of my favorite things from an enjoyment standpoint that I'm doing. I mean, I'm sure you know, as a fellow podcast host, it's like so fun to meet new people, sit down, hear their stories, learn from them. And that's actually kind of how I created Amalfi. Is I kind of learned from a lot of these interviews that I thought my retirement struggles were very unique to me because we talked about, because I didn't have the career that I thought I was going to have. So I kind of thought I was just a mess. But it's like, then you talk to a guy who's played 20 years, won Olympic gold medals, won Stanley Cups, and he was like, dude, I was a mess for 7 years. And or you talk to a guy who played Division I football, and he had a really hard time with that for 4 or 5 years. So that really opened my eyes just how big of a problem this is, and kind of trying to figure out ways we're going to do to fix it.
Yeah. Is there anybody on the pod? Like I was going back and I've listened to some, not to pump you up here, but I've listened to several of the episodes. Like, cause I had Pat Cash on, he was really cool. I think you had him on early on. Guy who started D1 training. He's awesome too. Who's that?
Yeah. Will
Bartholomew?
Bartholomew. Yeah. He was awesome. And like I said, it's so fun to just meet random people and kind of hear their stories, hear what they're doing in business. It's funny because it's like people are pretty open to tell you about mistakes that they made. It's been a really rewarding experience for that, because I've had people kind of call or listen to something and then maybe text me and like, hey, I didn't think about something like that. So that's been fun. Been very fortunate to have a ton of great guests on who are doing a lot of cool things.
Cool. So Amalfi, you said that. So Amalfi started. Is your brother involved in that as well, or like? I want to ask you about the business side of that too, because it seems a little bit.
Yeah, the cap table of Amalfi is really interesting. So my brother's involved, Nick, who's actually still playing hockey in Sweden. We have another one of our friends, Stephen Bass, who was probably the #1 college tennis player in the world, got to be ranked 200th or 300th in the world. But as a lot of people know, if you're not making a lot of money, being the 300th best tennis player in the world. And I think that he'd go to tournaments and like would lose money. And then we actually have a like serial entrepreneur, huge sports fan, Peter Jennings, who's super big in kind of the crypto sport, daily fantasy sports world, but he's got a ton of business experience. So it's been super fun building this together. And another one of my buddies, John Beaupre and Joe Colburn, are also involved. So we kind of have a very dynamic leadership team with a ton of different backgrounds, but I think kind of like the sitting at the intersection of sports and business has really kind of been our niche. And like watching people win together from our different networks has been one of the most enjoyable processes or things that we've done.
Yeah. Well, so let me just take a quick step back. Like maybe somebody's interested or listening in here. What is Amalfi? Because I've come across other groups that seem somewhat similar, but I'm sure there's a lot of differences in them. Like the Post. I had Ponder on here at one point, and what he's doing is it somewhat similar to that, or like what's the main goal with Amalfi?
Yeah, I would say it's similar to a lot of those. I mean, the business concept is not unique, right? Like YPO and baby bathwater, and some of these have been around for a long time, but a lot of these focus on a very specific type of people. And for example, like some of them focus on, like, to be in YPO, you have to be a certain age, have a certain type of business. And we have a very eclectic membership group, whether it's kind of half athletes, half really cool entrepreneurs and CEOs who run businesses. And I think that there's a huge value in that because the athletes get to learn so much from some of these guys who have had so much success in business, whether they're a Fortune 500 CEO. And I mean, we've had people from events get hired within like a week or two to now start working at the company. We've had athletes start companies who have gotten huge investment checks from people who have been in the business for a long time. We've had, I mean, it's been super cool to see some of the wins that have come from certain things that we've done. And I think that, like I tell people all the time, like athletes are like, how am I going to be happy again after my career? Like, I just can't find it. And I think what I've realized is you have to find something that you're passionate about that you can apply that sports mentality to, because if you don't find that, like, you're just never going to be happy. So it doesn't really matter what that is, whether that's real estate, finance, coaching, being an entrepreneur, investing, but whatever it is, find something and kind of attack that with the same level of intensity and drive that you did your career. And I think that when you do that, a lot of guys are able to find not only happiness, but a ton of success in their next career.
Yeah, definitely. So how do guys do that then? Like, because that's something that I've experienced as well. Yeah, you can, like, I guess you have to try a bunch of things maybe at the start. Although for you, you got into the agent world and it seemed like that was something that you enjoyed doing. But like, have you experienced any guys who are like, man, still just trying to figure out, I haven't enjoyed this next thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how do you help
a ton of guys.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's been so cool about some of the events we've thrown. It's like, so we're throwing an event next month at Shadow Creek again in Vegas for like a golf tournament. And it doesn't always work out like this from a number standpoint, but we try and have like 2 CEOs and 2 athletes in every foursome. So as a result of this, you kind of get to spend 2 days together. And it's not just like going to a coffee meeting where a CEO might give a guy 40 minutes of their time and is super busy. But I mean, you're out on the golf course with someone for 5 hours. So, I mean, everything comes up from, hey, I'm looking for X, Y, and Z at my company to, hey, maybe my company doesn't do this, but my friend Chris or Joe has a company who does this. You should connect after that. So that's why we throw the events with Amalfi, is just because we want to provide an environment that's competitive and also allows people to just make new connections that they wouldn't have made otherwise. And I think that where I was wrong on the business at first, which I learned, is the high-end events are what really get the high-end business people to attend and be part of the community. I mean, if you're a Fortune 500 CEO and you've got 3 kids at home, you don't need really a ton of connects in the business world. But if you say, hey, you're a golfer, we're going to come compete against all these NBA, NHL guys at Shadow Creek, they're willing to kind of drop everything to do it. It's the same thing for like the wellness stuff we do. Like, we've got a bunch of business leaders there, but the guys who love to work out and stuff want to race up a mountain against athletes and just have a blast doing it. So like, we kind of have 3 pillars for all our events. I mean, we want them to be like super competitive, which most of them are. We want people to learn a lot. There's always some educational components on it. We try and have people speak on different things they're investing in or what they're looking at, or maybe a deal that they did that went great or went wrong. And then we also want people to kind of make new connections. And I think if we kind of have everyone leaving every event hitting all 3 of those pillars, it was a successful event.
Yeah, Shadow Creek's a decent place to get people out to as well. I'll come.
Yeah,
if you.
No, I mean, we'd love to have you. It's awesome. We did it last year, and I mean, it's just like it's just such a cool environment. I mean, I haven't played every golf course in the world, but I've played a lot of good ones. And from an experience standpoint, Shadow Creek ranks probably number one that I've played. I haven't played like Augusta or anything, but it's just such a cool experience, and it's such a cool hang. And it was cool. Last year, we actually had a guy, we put up $100,000 hole in one, and one of our buddies got it actually, which was pretty crazy.
No way.
Yeah. So I mean, that made the event pretty cool. And like I said, it's just like, we've had some PGA golfers who always like to come to our stuff, and they'll do some like really cool golf tutorials for people who are golf nerds. Like, I mean, I love golf, but I have no idea how to like practice, right? Like, I just like kind of go to the range and hit balls like before my round. But it's cool learning from some of the PGA guys on just how they think about golf. We actually had Kurt Kitayama, who won recently, I think about a month ago now. He came to our first event at Shadow Creek. And I mean, it's for people who love golf, what a cool experience to play 18 holes with a PGA golfer.
That's great, man. Yeah, that's so cool. What are some of the biggest, I feel like that could be a cliche question, but like some of the other challenges maybe just from growing a business, because it's probably easy to get distracted with other things. You've got kids, you've got other things going on. Like what's some business advice that you would give to somebody who's thinking about jumping into something like that?
Well, it's super hard. Like, and it's like, the more people that I kind of, more entrepreneurs that I come across, I don't think people realize like how difficult it is in today's world. And you definitely have to be cut out or kind of built a certain way to kind of handle the highs and lows. Cause I mean, there's days where I think we're literally on top of the world. And then there's other days where I'm pounding my head against the wall and thinking about 10 different mistakes that I've made. But no, there's a ton of things. Like, this is the first company I've ever started, and I made a ton of mistakes. I think the biggest challenge for us right now is we want to grow quickly, but we also have to be very thoughtful on how we grow. I mean, the reason the business doesn't work is if you do take 2-3 days out of your work day or your family life to come to Shadow Creek and you don't have a great experience, you're kind of like, okay, this is like, we're asking so much for people to give kind of their time and money, frankly, to be a part of this, that we have to deliver an amazing experience with everything that we do. And that's hard when you're trying to grow so quickly, but also maintain that high level of exclusivity and just kind of brand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because you're giving people high-end experiences. So yeah, it's tough to like scale that quickly. Yeah, I'm
scale it quickly, and then
you're trying to do it the right way. Yeah.
Yeah. And then even from our membership base, right? Like, we have, even on like pricing and stuff, we have some people who are like, have gotten so much value out of this. And then we also have had athletes who just came out of college, who those guys might probably have the biggest benefit of anyone. You know what I mean? Like the young athlete who just retired, who wants to learn business, but we also don't want to price it at a point where it completely excludes them. But also too, like I said, so there's so many things that kind of we have to balance on a day-to-day basis. And some things we've done a great job on, and other things I wish I definitely would have done differently had I restarted it.
Gotcha. Yeah. Cool, man. So what do you want to accomplish with that? You know, because you experienced this period. I was curious about this. Like you experienced this period after retirement, I think when you were 30, right? Where you're like just trying to figure it the hell out, like what you're going to do. Are you, does that ever creep in? I guess maybe I'm curious now, or do you feel like, man, I found it and we're rocking and rolling at this point? If that makes sense.
It creeps in every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's days where I'm like, man, I should still be playing hockey. And then there's other days where I try and have a little bit more level headed. And I'm like, man, I've been able to do some really cool things since I retired, and we're really on to something super special here. And I'm very thankful that I did retire when I did, because I've been able to, I mean, most importantly for me is like, I have a great relationship with my kids. I have 2 daughters who are 8 and 4, and I've kind of put that above anything that I've done on the ice or in business. And I think that, I don't think I would have had as strong of a relationship if I was still playing, especially if I was still spending a lot of time in Russia or Europe as I was towards the end of my career, because you miss a lot of things. And that just wasn't something I was willing to sacrifice anymore. And even if I was in North America, I would have been on a 1-year deal, and my kids have friends and a great school that they go to. And it would have been asking a lot of other people to sacrifice more than I was willing to do at that point in my career.
I want to ask you about that though too, because I've seen you, maybe it's a tweet or something, but you were like, that's one of the regrets from my career, that I wish my daughters would have been able to see you play.
Yeah, I mean, it was so cool. Like my oldest was born when I was still playing in Switzerland, but we actually had a really cool charity event probably 2 weeks ago now. The Colorado Avalanche alumni played the DU alumni, and we threw it at the University of Denver's rink. I actually personally thought they were going to sell like 1,500 tickets, and they sold out the whole building of 7,000. And the game was on a Sunday at 5 o'clock, and my daughters had no idea that it was a charity game, but they thought it was like the coolest thing in the world to kind of dress up, and they both looked great and got to kind of be part of that experience. So I think that that was something that like would be so cool. And I do regret a little bit that like they weren't able to kind of come on that ride with me, but my career was kind of over more or less at that point when they got to this age. But it was cool to be able to do that a couple of Sundays ago, and the event was awesome. We raised a ton of money for a ton of different people, and it was just cool to even to be able to do it for one night with them.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah. Denver, like I said, I don't know a ton about hockey, but I know that Denver is like an absolute powerhouse of a program too. So I'm sure there's some guys coming out there that are pretty cool, you know. But
yeah, I mean, I don't even think it was the Denver guys, to be honest. I mean, we had some guys who are current NHL All-Stars, but the Avs did such a good job bringing back Adam Foote, Joe Sakic, Pierre Turgeon, I don't even know who else I just listed, Milan Hajduk. So, I mean, it was cool. I think the building was mostly Avs fans, but what a great experience if you're like a lifelong Avs fan to be able to kind of come on a Sunday to DU and watch all those guys play again.
That's awesome. Yeah, when I was a kid in my room, I had, you know, those little figurines of athletes. I had one of Patrick Waugh going like this, making a glove save.
Yeah, I think I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, he actually didn't come back to the game. I mean, he's currently a head coach in the NHL, so I think he's a little busy at this time of year. But they did do an incredible job bringing back some of the best players to ever play.
That's great, man. Awesome. Well, Drew, cool, man. I think it's great what you're doing. Yeah, we've like I've seen you on Instagram and everything like that, and then appreciate you just getting back to me about coming on this.
Yeah, no problem.
Because I mean, obviously, it's such a necessary. Yeah. Just gonna say it is such like a necessary topic, just helping athletes, because you're in that period of your life, man. For what? For you, I'm sure you played hockey for 28 years, 29 years of your life, and then you flip a switch. It's like, all right, yeah, I can go get a job, but that's still a huge part of you. So yeah, just kind of navigating that can be tough. It can be tough.
Yeah, it's super hard. And I mean, I think that's kind of what we're aiming to fix with the ball fee is like, I mean, it's hard to put numbers on this because everyone's retirement struggle is different. But if you want to say the average athlete struggles for 5 years, call it. I mean, I know that's, like I said, it's a huge wide range, so it's tough to put a real number on. But like, why can't we build something where a guy might struggle now for a year or find that new purpose or new job or new investment or whatever they kind of want to do? How can we shorten that time frame? Because I mean, as we've seen recently, like life can be very short and we only all have so many years on here. So why spend 7 to 10 of them being miserable if we can do something about it?
Yeah. Yeah. We don't have to get into politics, but I feel like what happened last week, it just made a lot of people kind of reflect a little bit, right? Just kind of think about like, man, that could just be gone. And I don't even have kids yet, but I'm sure especially hits home for somebody like you that has young daughters and you're like, man, it's wild. So,
yeah, I mean, I don't know, like we don't need to get into it or anything, but like, it's just,
yeah, right.
It sucks that sometimes like events happen that make everyone realize like what they should be doing differently or how they should be living differently, or because I mean, it's really easy to get caught up on the day to day of kind of just going through the grind and going through things where at the end of the day, no matter who we are, life's very precious. And yeah, I don't know, you kind of got to live each day to the fullest.
Yeah, without a doubt. So, all right, man. Do you have a future in hockey media as well? I know a few of the recent guests you've had on, and plus your buddies with the Spit and Chicklets guys, which is awesome. But I was listening to that your recent pod with who's
Jordan Schmaltz,
his name, but
he's one of the he's one of the funniest people I literally think on the entire planet. Like I was in Aspen with him probably in December of last year, and he's a guy like you could just sit at a table with in the middle of nowhere. You don't even have to talk, and he can just tell stories, give commentary for 7 hours. Next thing you know, it's 1 a.m. And you thought you're going to be in bed 3 hours ago. But I mean, I'd love it. I mean, I still love the game of hockey so much, and I think that one of the things that hockey has really stalled the growth of hockey is just there haven't been a ton of big personalities in the game, whether that's from the players because of kind of a hockey culture, which that's starting to change. It's amazing to see some of these young players kind of step out of their shell because, I mean, at the end of the day, like, whether you like hockey or not, fans connect with humans and on a human level. And I mean, I see it with like my wife. My wife hates golf. If I can give my wife anything in the world, it would be to retire from golf. I think that would literally make her happier than anything in the world. But for example, like she would never care about a golfer or a golf tournament, but like she watched the Full Swing documentary that Netflix did. And all of a sudden you saw how good of a father Tony Finau was. And now she's a Tony Finau fan, not because of the way he hits a golf ball, but just because she knows who he is now and kind of knows what his family's like and is able to relate to that. So I think it's great guys like this. I mean, the Spit and Chicklets guys were kind of the OG original guys who went on and started talking hockey, but they're really smart about the game of hockey and they go about it in a very entertaining way. And I think it's just been so great for the sport. And Jordan Schmaltz is another guy who's completely out of his mind, but is actually a pretty smart hockey mind. And I think that, I mean, it just draws so many more eyeballs to the game and what's going on in the game.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it sounded like he had a good perspective. Like you could tell, just being from him being a hockey guy, he's obviously talking about that and analyzing it. But you tell he had a good perspective on his career too. He's like, yeah, like things could have worked out this way. Maybe I could have played a couple years. I like that part of what you guys were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks, but
man.
I mean, we kind of had similar. I mean, he was a first round pick. Talent level was through the roof, and I mean, it's hard, right? Like I mean, not that many guys make it like and have long careers. I mean, I don't know what the average career length is around all sports, but it's like there's just so many good players now. And hockey specifically is becoming just such a worldwide game. Like, I mean, I think if you look at when I started in the league in 2012, there might have been 2 or 3 players in the NHL from Switzerland. And I mean, now there's 15 to 20 guys from Switzerland. And so many of these countries are just developing better and better players. And I mean, the league's expanding a little bit. I mean, we've gotten like, and there's going to continue to be expansion, but I mean, that's not that many spots for how many guys are playing the game all over the world.
All right, man. We'll wrap up. I do just want to ask you like 1 or 2 more quick things. Since we're talking about hockey, I feel like the hockey culture is such, like you're saying, it's such a team sport. Like guys really aren't in it for themselves, at least from the outside looking in, not playing hockey myself. What's like that culture like in hockey, man? I just feel like there's so much respect amongst all the guys. Like that probably for you was something that you missed a lot in retirement. But yeah, what's that culture like? I'd love for you just to hear inside baseball on it.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I'm biased, and it's also the only culture I really know at a super high level. So it's not really fair for me to say this, but I mean, I think it's the best culture of guys in the world. And I mean, you just see it in like playoffs and hockey. I mean, whether you're a hockey fan or not, playoff hockey is pretty tough to beat in terms of a sporting or an experience. And I think that the culture of hockey has been around for so long, and the way the sport is played, it's just such a team game on so many different levels that I think that helps. But yeah, it's like the daily being in the locker room, even before and after practice, going to lunch, just the banter with the guys. I think that's one of the things that guys definitely miss the most about retirement.
Yeah, hockey guys are nuts too. I know that much. So
that's true. There's a lot of characters. That's true. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. All right, Drew. Thanks, man. So one last thing here, just like maybe advice to a younger athlete or a retiring athlete. I know you're doing a ton to help them out, but if you could just maybe, obviously with Amalfi, but just like one thing to think about, maybe like as you're going through that time period, figuring it out, what would you say to somebody going through where you were?
For a current athlete, I would say to use your, I don't know if you want to call it status or whatever, to get into rooms that you would not otherwise have the opportunity to get in. If you are a current professional athlete and you're an NFL player playing in wherever for the 49ers, like use that opportunity to get into some of these rooms in whether it's tech, VC, whatever, that everyone will let you in the room when you're a current professional athlete. So I think I would encourage guys who are still playing to take advantage of their platform and start building relationships and surrounding themselves with people who have had a lot more success than they've had, especially in the business world. And then for the retiring athlete, I mean, we talked about it earlier, but I would just say, like, find something you want to go all in on and kind of attack that with the same mentality that you did your career. And I think if you can do that, you can really fill the void of some of the things you're missing from sport. And I think it'll eventually lead to you to have as much success in kind of phase 2 as you did phase 1.
It's awesome, man. Yeah, and I feel like you're seeing more of that too, especially with current athletes. They're dipping their feet in tons of other things and business opportunities, and it's pretty cool. It's going to be cool to see what happens over the next 5 to 10 years. Like I'm sure some of these guys, well, maybe it won't be allowed in contracts, but just like ownership in other companies and stuff.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
that.
you see it a lot. I mean, I don't know if the league will ever allow that, just because, I mean, we've seen some stuff, especially in basketball lately, with some salary cap stuff.
That's
but,
crazy.
I mean, the smartest guys are doing it with a ton of the brand deals that they're doing. Like I said, I mean, like, guys are no longer just blankly accepting small checks for doing things. It's much more of like, how does this fit into my overall brand portfolio? If I do take a check, maybe it's like half the check and half of it's in equity, because I think the equity can actually be worth 10 to 20x that down the road. So it's cool. I think that the every elite athlete now thinks that their own VC fund, which has definitely caused some challenges for guys at different points, but if they're surrounded by good people with a ton of experience, I think it's awesome.
Agreed. Well said. All right, Drew. Thanks, man. Where can people find you? Where can people find Betting the Limit? And if they want to learn more about Drew
Betting the
Shore,
Limits
Amalfi?
Betting the Limits on Spotify and Apple Music, also on YouTube now. Amalfi would be great if you check it out. Join Amalfi.com, and then Drew22 Shore on Twitter. This was a blast. It's cool to see what you're doing too. Like I said, I mean, I think
Thanks, man.
The more people trying to help these athletes, because I mean, I'm sure you went through a similar, we didn't even really get into yours, but I would have loved to have heard more about kind of your transition journey. And it's just super cool, and it's a huge need. So appreciate you and everything you're doing, and this was fun.